What's up, guys, and welcome back for another episode of Man's Glory Podcast, where we keep it real biblical. And today we are discussing chapter 2 of If Not, Making Peace with God's Timing, and it is called When the Dream Goes Silent. So, if you have been keeping up with our book club, you should be well past chapter 2, especially for the people who purchased their book when it dropped. Again, our books are available via my website, jasminestylesconsulting.com/bookstore. I guess when Rita get done banging and clacking stuff over here, she'll be ready.
I am ready, ma'am.
All right, we're talking about when the dream goes silent. So what's your takeaway for this week?
So I understood when the author was talking about when the dream went silent, she was talking about she no longer heard from God about her husband, correct?
Okay, I'm going to see where you're going with this.
I'm just saying, the part that I read, chapter 2, when she no longer dreamed of having a husband or think she was going to be a wife. So that's what the dream, going silent and thinking, okay, so does God not hear me? God's not answering my prayer?
So we had a faithful viewer who stated that this is no longer, and I'm going to use my words, it's no longer relevant to her because she's not dating. That's not what she wants. It's not as exciting as it was for her. She doesn't desire to be married again and all of the things. And my response to that is everything is not about dating and being married again. That may not be where you want to be, does not mean that the book does not resonate with you, right? So with chapter 2 specifically, it said when the dream goes silent. Your dream could have been anything. For me, in this chapter, the dream is referring to the dream that I explained on last week's episode. This man that I thought was my husband, and me being a wife and me being a mother and having this family. That was the dream for me. One of many dreams. I've dreamt of being an educated black woman with multiple degrees, for which I have. I've dreamt of being a doctor, for hopefully this time next year you will be calling me Dr. Jasmine S. Styles.
All right, then.
Because I am currently pursuing my PhD. I've dreamt of having my own businesses, for which I do. I've dreamt of being mayor. I've dreamt of running for mayor. All of these things I've done, I'm doing, I'm pursuing, right? Your dream could be anything. In this instance, in this moment, the dream that I'm referring to is the dream of me being a wife and a mother that I have not achieved, and me coming to terms with being okay with if that does not happen. Am I still Jasmine S. Styles? Am I still going to follow God, seek Christ, and do as He has asked me to do? So in the instance, this still resonates. It's still able to connect with you, because what is the dream that you sought out that you feel like you did not get? What is that dream that you feel like has fallen by the wayside, that has tested your faith, that has tested your connection and your dependency on God? What is the dream of the area in your life where you feel as though, am I putting this before God? Or am I treating this as a transactional relationship? Like, okay, God, I'm going to follow you. And it's because I want these things, right? So Elder Derek said something beautiful today at church.
What was that?
That man be hitting it. It just like every time we got an episode, it just be right there. Elder Derek said, he said, are you going to follow Christ anyway? He said, you're not getting that thing. Are you still going to follow me? What was the verse that he took us to? Dang it. I think I got it. He took us to a verse today. It was so good. I said, and I said, interesting. I hope it's on this phone, actually, because it just might be on my other phone. And I think it is. So the verse that one of the verses that my dad took us to was Colossians chapter 3, verse 2. It says, set your affection on things above, not on things on this earth. And that completely aligns with where we are right now in this chapter, because I talked about in this book when the dream goes silent, and I said how I no longer heard God. That made me sit there and ask myself, are you there? Are you really in this relationship with God? Or are you just following him so you can get something that you want? Which blew my mind, because if my affection is on God, right? Mm-hmm. My affection on things above, all these things will be added unto me. That's scripture, right?
Yes.
Set your affection on things above, not on things of this earth. The things above are.
You said it was different. That's two different scriptures. You said all these things will be added unto me.
Yeah, but I wasn't part of
the kingdom of God. Okay, but all right, go ahead.
So, of that, following and knowing, when it said what are the things above, God is above, right? Without God, there's no peace. There is no doing these things. And Derek said, I got a song to sing. God allowed me to be here.
All right.
And I said, okay, Derek.
All right now.
Derek was saying a lot of stuff, and I was like, all right, Derek. So, and in that, I'm just like, if I don't receive these said things that I said I wanted, not what God had for me, not what God promised me, because the only thing he promised me is that if you keep my commandments, you will see heaven. If you don't follow me, you will see hell. What he promised me was to be a just God, to give me the things that I deserve. And the things that I deserve are according to what he said, not what according to what Jazz has to say, right? According to how I follow him, how I choose to be obedient or disobedient, and I will receive my just reward, right?
Right.
That is the part that we misunderstand. And in this chapter, I had to realize that's what it was. That was the part that he hit me when he said because in this chapter I had to realize the silence of it. Because I was no longer having the dream, I no longer heard God ask, telling me, hey, this is going to happen for you. This, that, and third. And I had to realize, were you the voice in your head saying these things to you and you putting it on God, right? I had to realize what silence meant. And what Derek said, sometimes silence is God teaching you something. Sometimes silence is God's protection. Yep. Sometimes, if he's telling you no, maybe it's because your heart was fixated on the wrong thing and not the right thing. Holler if you hear me.
I'm going to comment about the things you doing or not doing. I went to 2 services today. I went to the mother church, James and I and my mom, when we left our service. And it was said over there, like people say, church is too long. So, and James said, when I played ball, I was out there all day. It didn't matter to me. Somebody brought up going up to, when you go to a game, I stayed out there all day. And so, so I made the statement, when you working all them hours, working for overtime, that's as long as you want. But when it comes to doing things that good for your soul, the word, it's different. Now, you in there acting a fool and ain't paying no attention. But the person that's the reason why we breathe or live, we don't want to give no time to. And actually, all our little time belongs to him. Like the bishop say, when I went to see my favorite boxer in live, he was saying that, and then, and sometimes, hey, they might got a knock, a TKO so quick you probably was mad because it wasn't long enough. But the point is, when it comes to doing things that we really need, like your soul was for Christ, that's the last thing on people's mind. Then you wonder why certain things don't happen. Like she said, a dream could be anything. It could be a job. It could be the education. Then you wonder why, why haven't I got a promotion, or I can't get this job? What are you doing? God can only bless us so far. So it doesn't have to be right. One of her dreams was being a wife. And having children. That's one of the dreams that she had set a time limit on. Just like with school. When Jasmine was a child, and I used to do her hair in the salon, Mama, I want to be a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer. I mean, she just named all kinds of things that she wanted to be. A cosmetologist. And I never told my child... Coach, I never told her she couldn't do all those things. I was thinking to myself, there's a whole lot. But what she did not realize It takes time, even with the education. So even though she had planned out her life, she thought by the time she gonna have a kid, well, baby, the first thing you said you want to do was a lawyer. Well, you couldn't do that in 4 years. You understand where I'm coming from? And then I told someone not long ago, I said all the things that Jasmine said she wanted to do, she did accomplish them. She's not a licensed cosmetologist, but Jazz does hair. Okay, and then she's got all this education, like she just said earlier. She's working on the doctor's degree, her doctorate. So God does and will bless you to do certain things. So I'm gonna say this: when your children are children, which I'm glad I never told my children, you can't do this, you can't do that. I just listen, because at the end of the day, baby, I don't know what God has in store for them. So don't step on the dream. Don't tell your child what they can't do. You know, we was always taught in school, you can do anything you put your mind to. So you put your mind to it. You got to do the effort. You know, all that, you know. And of course, when the Lord bless it, his time.
That ties back into something else Brother Derek, Elder Derek Barnes said today. Had it made ain't your problem. Well, he said had it ain't your problem. I said not had it made peers. He said had it is not your problem. I can't get this. I can only get so far at this job. I can't get this. My supervisor let me do this. Like he said, had it's not your problem. You're your problem, because you are only going to go as far as you allow you to go.
Right.
You are your stumbling block. You are, and what's crazy is that my whole life, the way I remember I think the same sister who said she don't feel like it's relevant to her anymore about the dating and the third was the same one who asked me who raised me. She's like, who made your conscience like that? Who made your mindset like that? My whole life it was like, if I don't do this, this is going to happen to me. Or if God didn't give me something I asked for, my first question is, what did I do? Or what am I doing that I'm being punished or that I'm being held back? Which still ties back into what Brother Derek said about, it's not about, or more so, what are you doing? Yeah. My question is, what did I do that this was not given to me? However, sometimes God closes doors to open others.
Right.
Sometimes there's there's a listening and blessing in everything, because you said you wanted this thing, but God knows that there's something more, something better for you, right? There's no one on this earth that can stop you from going to where you want to go and get there. You cannot miss what God has for you.
No, we
Number
cannot.
one, you can only go as high as you allow yourself to go.
Correct.
Because you restrict yourself. Whether that be your mindset, whether that be your behavior, whether that be your actions, how you carry yourself, saying you are a follower of Christ. God, and my uncle said something. And he said, well, God allow you to have whatever you got to want to make it work. And I agreed with him, but I didn't agree with him, right? So we are, in so many words, well, like I said, what he was saying is, you are blessed according to the actions that you take, or you receive the consequence according to the choices that you make. And people hear the word consequence as with a negative connotation. That's not that, right? So if I choose to follow Christ and not do certain things and stay on this tightrope, my consequence is eternal life. If I choose to be the opposite, my consequence is eternal damnation, right? If I choose to take door A, to take me with this job that only pays me, we'll say $50K a year, but I'm at home every night with my kids and I have weekends off, that's my consequence for that choice. Whether or not I can choose this job that pays $250K a year and I'm working 18 hours a day, I don't ever get to see my kids, or in the point, I don't have kids.
So which one is
I don't have a family. Every choice that you make comes with a consequence. And God gives you free will, which is what I took what he was trying to say. God gives you free will to choose said thing, and everything aligns with that. So, and that brings me back to me saying, well, God, what am I doing that I don't have this husband? I don't have this family. Like I said last week, okay, well, maybe it's not for me to have. Maybe it's something else I need to accomplish before I get said thing. Or maybe, that thing ain't it. That ain't what he has for me. And so my mom would ask me all the time, a few years back, she would say, so what you gonna do? You just gonna be out here sleep with all these different men? That was one of the, I was like, she said, you gonna wait outside? You got no choice but to wait. I don't care how impatient I am. I only have one option. I'm not like everybody else. There's no option A or option B for me. It's only one. I'm either going to trust him and wait, or I'm not.
What I've learned, even with whether it's a man or woman, or a job, or buying something, when you move too fast, when you go on your own, it does not work out well for you. And in the long run, you end up regretting it. Okay, for instance, when a person say you're too picky, whether it's too picky on dating or a house, a car, or job, or whatever, and you be looking for that perfect. So I'm gonna use something as simple as clothing. Shopping is not something I like to do for us. Going into a store, never have, and go shopping. The way I shop, something appears in my head, and that's what I'm looking for. So, and I guess you can say, well, I'm not a really good shopper, because if I go into this store and things are on sale, and if I'm looking for a red dress or some red shoes, that's what I'm looking for. The rest of the stuff, I'm not studying. Now, if somebody with me, like Jazz, okay, Mom, this is a good price, okay. But that ain't what, I don't like to go in place and just spend hours just rummaging and looking. I don't have the patience for that. So, and to be honest, so if God wants me to have something at a good price, it's going to, bam, just going to fall in my face, because that ain't something I do. That's not something I like doing, I enjoy. I don't have the patience to do that. I don't care about that enough. Okay, we'll say another thing, a car. If you don't know, red is my favorite color. And so, I've never told my husband a certain car I wanted. Because one thing that I know about my husband, women.
Every time you get a truck.
No. What you want, I never say. Red, yes. I love red. I'm not talking about that. Like, I don't ever say, okay, like when he looking for a car, I don't ever say I want a Nissan or...
She specifically said she wanted that custom built Toyota Sequoia. Mm-hmm. And my daddy went out over the world trying to get that custom built Toyota Sequoia.
No, he didn't.
It was going to pay the extra money to get it in that red, because it no longer came. That year that she wanted, it did not come in that color anymore.
Okay, but as I was saying, I never say, well, James, I want this. Because if I say that, God willing, James going to make it happen. That's what I'm talking about. And so,
a straight
he going to do all he can, and God blesses him to get it. You know what I'm saying? And so, therefore, I don't ever say. So, when we decide to look for something, we looking, and now if he show me something, I'm like, he'll tell you himself. One time he pulled up to a car lot many years ago. I didn't even get out the, but it was something he was getting for himself. But I did not like that, But with that being said, so I don't just say, well, James, I want this. And if he tell me, well, baby, we going to get this here. And then when he go checking out the price, they too high, then I'm going to get mad at him. Well, don't tell me. Because if you tell me and I look at it, hey, I may want it, on that note. We're going to dive into some of your stuff about too.
This is something... This is a specific verse that I put in this book. There's a lot of verses I put in this book, but one specifically as it pertains to what we're talking about today. It says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth."
Psalms 46:10.
Being still, in that stillness is when there's silence. You gotta get into the, what people say in their prayer closet, get into that secret space, and you got to get cut out all of the noise, right? And that's when you find clarity. And a lot of people think, oh, okay, well, that means I need to go fast. I need to go fast so I can hear God.
But why do they think that? Because they was taught that from someone.
And that's irrelevant. God is a spiritual God, not natural. But you don't even get down that rabbit hole. You fast if you want to. You're going to find yourself close to God, all right, spiritually. You're going to be in hell playing. Keep on. But anyway, I think in that point where I heard him say, or in that verse where it says, "Be still." And in that being still, I got to a point where I heard nothing. And that is what should be. Because I'm just like, okay, God, am I being punished? Have I done something to offend thee? Am I not following you? Am I not doing something that you asked of me, right? And that thing just kind of took me. So this, on page 29, it says, God's silence was not punishment. It was refinement. He was teaching me how to desire something without needing it to validate me. How to surrender a timeline without surrendering faith. How to sit in unanswered prayers without rushing ahead of his will. And as you keep reading this book, you see the evolution of me, right? And I realized, but I'm already who I need to be. Naturally. Mm-hmm. I am that chick, as the word says. Who gonna beat me, boo? That was a TV show. My mom never watched a TV show, but it killed me. To me, I only compete with myself. So when I'm competing with myself, I'm only getting better. I always look at the flaws, how I can be better, whether that's me re-listening to podcasts to catch flaws in myself, whether that's me looking over my homework assignments, that's me reanalyzing my business, my nonprofit, all of the things. How can I grow? Whether that's me looking at me naturally, okay? Gaining a little weight here. What you need to do to fix that right here? How you need to cut this off? I'm always checking myself, analyzing myself, and criticizing myself. That's something I definitely get from my father. Because listen.
He taught y'all to what?
Criticize.
Critique yourselves.
Okay? I don't care how
He
good I did.
Criticize.
That's what critique means. I don't care how well I did in sports. He ain't care nothing about that. Okay, this is where you slacked up at. This is what you missed. This is where you could have been better at.
He was hard on you.
Very, very. And it's still hard.
But he made them the people they are.
And so, in that, I understand the validation. Whether even if I'm not a wife, even if I'm not a mother, I'm a woman of God. I'm a woman nonetheless. And I know for a fact that I embody that idea of what a wife should be. Whether I have the title or not. I'm not out here in these streets. I'm not a skirt tail, as my daddy put it, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm a woman of virtue, okay? He also said, surrender that timeline. That was that thing with Jazz that Jazz had to do. The timeline thing. I'm talking about since a little girl, I've had a timeline. Mm-hmm. Reed told you see I got all these books in right here, all 3 books that I read. And then I think it's in book number 2 that I published. All the books that I published. She wrote
her first book, which was 6th grade?
I don't know. I don't know.
So we really need to get that one published. Like I told her, the 6th grade mind, but it needs to be published.
That timeline thing, I keep everything on the tightrope. I done told y'all about 22 married. I also didn't have the most realistic idea of a time concept either.
Exactly. You was a child just thinking I could
be a doctor, a lawyer, all of these things, and everything takes time. The only reason why I don't have my cosmetologist license because I found out how much it costs. I said, who finna pay for that? And then how much time it takes. I am a person who values things that allow me to go at my own pace. Or not in my own pace, to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. Right?
You could have did that in cosmetology, just depending on what you was going for.
Oh, really?
They give you a time, man. I went to night school. The day school get done quicker.
But the night school won't fit in my schedule.
Well, it won't fit in your schedule now.
See, that's what I'm saying. For me, everything that I've pursued, everything I've done, and I said out my own mouth, oh, this must be what God has me because it worked out the way I wanted it to work out.
Changed. It's probably changed from back, all them years ago. I don't know, everything changes.
But as people say, I'm a fresh student, that's not a license I have to have. Maybe when I get bored, I get, with the way my life's set up, I don't have time to be bored. But surrendering that timeline said a lot for me. So it's a part of my control issue, relinquishing. Because at the end of the day, you have no control.
We do not.
Whatsoever.
We think we do, but we don't.
You can say, God, I want these things. But unless God say,
check this out. I can't even control the blink of my eye. Because they're going to blink because God tells them to blink. You know, when we breathe, live, wake up, God controls all of that. No control.
Sitting in those unanswered prayers. People often talk about Sitting in answered prayers. We sitting in answered prayers. What about the unanswered ones?
Ain't that what your father said today?
Uh-huh.
When they would say, "Hey, I won $12,000."
You ain't talking about you won 10,000. You ain't talking about 12,000. You lost.
Something like yeah.
We
And that's
don't,
true.
we don't talk about the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
We only focus on the
reward.
We don't talk about. We get mad when God don't give us what we want, but we excited so long as He doing and giving and giving us all things that we don't deserve. Because if you're being honest with yourself, do you really deserve what He does for you now?
Do we?
Think about it.
I want to say something. My doctor. I went to the doctor on Friday, and I asked her how was her baby. She didn't have a baby, and so she said she's fine. She said, but she don't remember the older child being as sick as this one is. And I said probably wasn't, because things changes. But what she said to me, what they did find in a couple of rooms in the house, that it had some moisture in it. So, moisture holds mold. She said, so, that may be some of the reason why the baby's a little sick. So they're looking for somewhere to move to. She said, but everything is so expensive. She said, so we looking for something in our budget. And she want to go out to the rural area, to the country, because the taxes and all is not as expensive. But she said to me, this is the reason why I brought this up. She said, and I told my husband, he may think it's strange. She said, but I've been praying to God about it. She said, when I finish, I hear him saying, do you trust me? Prepare yourself. She said, so I told him, so, we're going to start packing boxes. She said, because I don't know when it's going to come through. She said, but I feel it's going to come through. She said, so she packed one box. She said, now she don't want to pack up the things that she need right here. I said, makes sense. And I told her, I get that. I say, just like us, when we do things, I say, just like, with the, when we started nonprofits and with the outreach part as far as the computer room, the computer lab, where we were donated some, the monitors. And then, hey, God put in my spirit, was it 12, 13 people for X amount of dollars. Hey, everybody I reached out to except one person, I think, gave. One person gave me enough to get 3. One person got 2. James and I got 2. Well, one person gave us to get 2. So, because we gonna always be the first partaker. And then it just exploded. But I said all that to say, I believe in that, because that's just like us, even with the food and the giving. So you give. And then so if people just steady calling, when you gonna do this, when you gonna do that? Well, hey, maybe God done dried it up. We've been giving people, yes. We've been giving people honestly from our heart. It was a time, people have given, so hey, now what you gonna do? Because I know that God says, when He say no is no.
No. Let your yes be yes.
And that's what people need to realize too. I'm taking. Am I being grateful for what these people did? Because there come a season when it'll drop. And I remember many years ago, Bishop used to be in that pulpit hollering, he can take the word from you. God can dry the line up. You can be no food here. All these things, okay? Well, you have people who can't eat. You have some people who does not work. Because, so another thing, if people are not working, people can't put their children in child care. People can't pay for child care. There are no jobs. There's no food. So then what? So when you take away everything, when you don't pour back in, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And I know, because I have experienced this as being a young couple. You can give and give and give. And when God stops you, you can't give anyone. There's a reason why things happen. Why? Because He told us to love everybody. And regardless, we're going to do. But when that time comes, you can't do, then you have to think about it. Okay, so God doing this. Because I'm not doing it. Say what?
We're done doing.
He's doing it. For a reason. Why? What are you doing? Are you grateful? Are you thankful? Are you giving back? Now, don't get me wrong. I have had some people in them lines give $10. People have been over there next to the laundromat. Rita, here you go. Just giving. A person have come and pick up. Can y'all take donations? We do. So and I said all that.
Then you have people who come and get, take, and talk about it like a dog.
Well, that part ain't my problem. What I'm saying is, when he close it, the door gonna be shut until He decides to open it. And that's something that People have to realize. Study calling. Study calling. What you study calling about? Because if we got something to give, we gonna let you know. But when he say no, it's no. And I don't care whether it's food, a spouse, education, a job. When God says no, it's no.
Now where you was going with that one? You like you said, I don't care if it's food or
whatever it is. Yeah. Because, okay, even with a spouse, you know, you can pray for a spouse. Lord, I want me a good man, and I want me a good woman. But look at yourself. Are you good?
Ooh.
You know, why are you praying for something that you are not? Are you worthy of that you're asking the Lord for? And first of all, we got to work on ourselves first. You know, my prayers to the Lord and was to the Lord to make me love people like I love myself. My enemy, let me love them like they my sister or my brother. That's what I want. When David, I think it was, they created me a clean heart, renewed me a righteous spirit. That's what I want. That's what I pray for. I heard the bishop say a little while ago about praying for the people. Believe that was my prayer last night. You pray that other people know what you know. I kid you not. That was the prayer I said. Help them to see, Lord. Help us. Bless us. Everybody that say that in your name, show them you. Not them. Because we as a people have a bad habit of doing it our way. Our righteous is not God. That means self-righteous. You know. You got to do it his way.
So again, we get into the reflection questions.
Okay.
So what is a dream that you've had? Because everything does not pertain. Like I told the gentleman, the question is, what is a dream that you have had that you feel as though you have lost, or that has went away, and that has gone silent? Because like I once said, I told the gentleman, the word is spiritual. It is written in a mystery. We were talking about the Song of Solomon, right? There's some all this love story. It's talking about marriage and sex and all these things. I was just like, and the verse we went over in that first chapter, it was, I told him, I said, no, that's talking about God's love. It's y'all see it as the natural love and this and the third. I see it as spiritual. It's talking about it expressed how God's love is for us and how we should desire Him, right? And in this book, if not making peace with God's timing, get into the detail of it. Because for me, for this, in this specific chapter, it's talking about the dream that went silent. And the dream that I explained, and if you read chapter 1 and you read chapter 2, and you read, honestly, you'll probably get into chapter 4, chapter 5 before we get into this whole idea of the dream of the husband and the children. However, focusing on it, it's really talking about this life I planned out. These things that I desired for, that I longed for while I was on this walk with Christ, and how things did not go according to my plan because it's not about me. And if you focus and you actually read and listen and open up your heart and stop being so defiant as we are against God, as we are against the word of truth, then maybe something would resonate with you.
Maybe. Just
maybe. You don't know what you will learn. Because I don't know who came up with this idea that this book is about relationships. It's not. I don't know who I heard my grandma say, all the girl, baby, this book is need to be read by women, by men too.
Marriage,
it's not about marriage.
Yeah.
It's not about, it's about bettering yourself. Okay? It's not about relationships. It's about knowing who you are. And Rita just asked the perfect question. You saying you want this thing, but are you that thing? Like Daddy said today. You wanna, what did my daddy say today? You wanna be, you wanna ask for certain things, but are you doing the work to get said things? How I'm gonna say, I want somebody who does X, Y, and Z, and I don't do any of it. I've said that on a TikTok video. How dare me be up here, the audacity to demand certain things that you're asking for things you're not willing to give. I want somebody faithful and loyal, and you cheating 24/7, 365. I want somebody good with finances. Meanwhile, you're not even trying to be good with your finances.
You're gonna bankrupt you.
You want somebody that make a lot of money and that work hard so they can take care of you. You're not trying to do no taking care of.
It's a team effort.
We misunderstand the concept. But again, you have this idea that this book is about a relationship and all these things. No, this book talks to you about Jasmine S. Styles and the evolution of that person getting to where I desire to be, and me being okay with God saying, hey, I know this is the life that you planned out for you. Pay attention. The life that you planned out for you, but it's not the life that I have for you.
Okay.
It says making peace with God's timing, meaning if God allows me to have certain things, when He allows me to have certain things, am I going to be okay with the process of said thing? Am I going to be okay with all of the things that I go through while He's doing the molding and the shaping and the forming of my spirit, correcting me, while He's also forming me naturally? Because in those times I need to grow. And on this 31-year journey that God has allowed me to walk in, I have seen the transformation, baby, from Dear Future Hood, the 25-year way up until now, to if not making peace with God's timing. I've seen the growth. I've seen the change. I've seen the work. I've seen who I have become. I've seen how I really can't leave stuff alone.
As you talking, I'm just bringing it out.
And knock stuff down. You have to stop looking at, it's somebody talking about a relationship. This ain't something I want. Baby, the book ain't never about a relationship. The book is talking about me, doing the work on me, knowing who you are. This book asks some tough questions. It asks some real tough questions. As you go through the chapters, it make you question yourself. Like, And it's never, there should be no page in this book where you question yourself and ask, now you're comparing you to me. That ain't what that is. No. This entire book, as you read, you're getting an insight into my brain, but the only comparison you should be making in your head is, are you the same person you've been your entire life? Where's the room where you should grow?
Okay, just like the TV shows that we watch, or people who love to read. You know, I know people that have bookcases just full of books. So it's about reading. You know, when I was pregnant with Jazz, or right before I got pregnant during that era, I read novels. I had books that I was ordering from somewhere, I guess, and I used to read those books. When I got pregnant with LJ, I was reading the Bible.
Which explains why he's such a demon. I always
but I said that to say, you know, I was reading. And so people who likes or love to read, you know, sometimes people just say, well, let me read this here. And if you pick a book up and read, you know, like I say all the time, reading is knowledge. You know, if we don't, people will say, and for the black race, I've heard this said, hey, you want to hide something from them, stick it in a book. You know, don't lose your knowledge or wisdom because you're too lazy to read. Revelation said, I think it's 3 and something, blessed is he who readeth. So, hey, read. God will bless your mind and your soul. And sometimes you just may learn something. Just like, okay, so the TV shows. I remember years ago, many years ago, I think when the Housewives or something first came out. And so a person said to me, well, sister, I know you don't watch that. That ain't your taste. No, I did not. I've never watched it, you know. Okay, so now I am binging on, Grey's Anatomy. So when it first started, you know, and I'm going to say it, the show was nice and clean. But as things went on, like they like to do, push things on us, make the abnormal. So as the years went on, the episodes, so they started creeping in there. So that's in there now, you know, because I remember, I was in school in the 80s, and I remember one of the teachers saying, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember which teacher, had said, and I may be in the 9th grade, that Hollywood was perverting. And if you look at the things, all the things that's done, that's how they get through this TV or this mindset. Because whatever they do on there, and then they make you want to think it's right. Just like instead of you, the person, being your child's hero, you want to make some movie star. But you should be your child hero. You're the first person your child meets. So you should be the person that they look up to. You, James and I. Jazz should know what a wife look like through her mother. LJ should knows how to pick a wife by looking at his mother. Okay, she should know how when that man comes and say, I want you to be mine, from by looking at her dad, hey, whether he is a good man or not. Well, let me change that, a man of God. Because there's a lot of good men in this world. There's a lot of good women in this world. But goodness cannot save us. You understand where I'm coming from? And so that's what I'm talking about, being right and doing the right thing. You know, James said on last Sunday that he remember when Jazz and LJ was little, and they was in there just getting down, imitating us. He like, what they doing? That's how I act. Yes. And I remember, I'm seeing if you remember this here, when he was leading the song in the church, and James it was just funny. You know, LJ, remember how LJ used to imitate him, how he would turn. You don't forget over there. What was it? Anyway, you know, but that's what children do. They imitate us. You know, we can see somebody we think funny, and we imitate how people talk. So, hey, your first person that your children see is you. It's not your neighbor. It's not the teacher. Chastisement start at home. Raising start at home. Because one thing I do know, you know, we have a child care here, but one thing I do know, if those children are being taught and raised, they know how to act. I believe that the problem that the teachers have, the children that the teachers have a problem with, is the old parents say, don't put your hand on my children. You're not raising them, and you don't want nobody else raising them. But when they go to jail or get in trouble, then you want to call everybody. It's a little bit too late. You got to raise them from here. And I learned a lot of things from my grandma. When my mom and dad used to go to the singing program, me and Ma would be with Grandma and Mike. And they used to always say, a disobedient child showing their days. That's something that was instilled in me. Like my granddad and Mike used to tell Marvin, don't hit your sister. Boys don't hit girls. You know, it's just certain things that was just taught to us. You know? What's wrong?
7 different points. I forgot where you started it. What was your sum of that?
I started with
she don't know. Anyway, these are the questions. I really try to figure out what she was talking about that I want to leave you all with for the week. Number 1, what dreams in your life have grown quiet? Not gone, just silent. Rudy, you got a dream you lost? Number 2,
probably.
How do you typically respond to God's silence? Is it anxiety, control, withdrawal, or trust?
Trust him. I've learned to trust him.
Ooh, learning to trust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anxiety can play a part. Number 3, have you ever measured God's faithfulness by the progress of a dream? Yes, I have. That's that whole mindset of their transactional relationship. Okay, well, God punishing me because I'm not doing stuff for him, and he not giving me this because I'm not doing right. Number 4, what might God be trying to teach you?
What? Ain't no trying here.
Brother Ed Derrick said it today because I kept looking up. Nobody caught it.
Yes, we did. He was corrected today, too.
He wasn't corrected around me.
Well, whatever. Sister Brown said, but every time he said it, not try. So she said, not trying. It's not trying. But you don't have it here, so don't read it here. Read it like you got it. 4 say, what might God be teaching you in the quiet that you couldn't hear in the noise? There's no trying here.
Go into your prayer closet, as the folks call, in here. See what it is. You got to. A lot of people are terrified of their silence, though. A lot of us are terrified of the silence. Number 5.
Are there areas where you've been listening more to your desires than to God?
Read it right.
Are there areas where you've been listening more to your desires than to God?
Are there areas where you've been listening more to your desires than to God's? Emphasize the your.
Okay.
Put the emphasis on the your. I want this. I want that. God do this. God do that.
Well,
but you never stop to ask, what does God want? Huh? Number 6.
Can you remain faithful even when the dream no longer speaks?
Am I going to sit here and keep these knees together? Or am I going to throw that thing to every man that bet their eyes at me? Huh? Huh? Am I going to be faithful and silent and be quiet and not respond to the people who are attacking me? Or am I gonna give in and go after every last one of them? Baby, they talked about Jesus. What makes you think they won't talk
Now
about
that's
you?
what we got to realize.
Huh?
And they still talking about it.
Okay.
And they crucified it.
You know, God said be silent. You don't have to. God will
Rebel.
fight your battles for
Come
you.
on. That's
Okay.
it. That's it.
In the closing remarks, Ms. Reed Denise, stay on in there.
In my closing remarks, I would say search within your heart to see if it's any dreams that you no longer dream anymore. Did you do the right thing or did you do what you want to do? The right thing is doing what God tells you to do. If you did what you want to do, you did the wrong thing.
Wrong thing feel good, don't it? Hell don't. And on that note, this has been another lovely episode of Manslaughter Podcast where we keep it real biblical. Do not forget to grab your copy of If Not, Making Peace with God's Timing. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, I think, and JasmineStylesConsulting.com. Matter of fact, you can find all 3 books that I have published, not all the ones I've written, on my website, www.jasminesstyles.com. I'm sorry, jasminesstylesconsulting.com/bookshop. So,
say it again, please.
www.jasminesstylesconsulting.com/shop1. That's what it is. That takes you directly to my bookstore. You can purchase the first book, the second book, third book. You can get you a bundle, all of the things. You can also find it in hard copy, PDF, paperback, whatever it is that your heart desires.
I would like to say something, add a little bit more. My husband and I had a conversation with a pastor and I think the man worked for the county at Jack's last week, one day through the week. And we stated that let's support one another like we support everybody else. Y'all know what I mean? You'll take that money, you'll spend it everywhere, but in your own, as they say, in your own neighborhood or your own kind. Let's support one another. Hey, what does it take?
Again, this has been another lovely episode of Manslaughter Podcast where we keep it real
biblical.
And we will see you guys on the next one.